Hey, welcome everybody. Happy Friday, TGIF, wherever you're at. This is Mr. Rob G. I want to welcome everybody to the Social Dig. Come on in, get comfortable, pour an ice cold beverage and get ready to join the conversation. I'm Mr. Rob G, and like always, we're going to be digging into the topics that keep you talking and the talk that keeps you thinking. Today, we're going to cover some pretty, I'd say, more serious than usual topics. We're going to be talking about ETs, the ufology community, the conversation that we should be having, and then look at skeptics. And then I don't like using the term believers, so we're going to say non-skeptics. So we're using skeptics versus non-skeptics. We're going to actually dabble into why we can't move forward with this conversation. What I'm going to do today is bring in the guys who are going to talk with me today. You know them both. We have Mr. Mateo, the engineer at the Social Dig.
How you doing, Rob?
And, hey, doing good, Mateo. You know, I'm real excited, ready to talk about this today. I think it's very important that this conversation gets had. And also, we're bringing in Mr. Anonymous Rex, Mr. Tim Senor. How are you today, sir?
Kaboom.
Doing great, guys. Doing great. It's good to see you. Thank you.
Good to see you, Tim.
Yeah. It's like I said, the topic of the show today is ET's skeptical versus non-skeptical logic. Because you figure we're all human beings. We do this show just as a preface to progress humanity and find the best way to move humanity forward. And I always wonder, I always ask the question, I've asked many ufology talk show hosts the same question, is what can we do to have the conversation and bring everybody on board to take this thing forward? I sat down, I thought about it, and I'm like, why can't we have this conversation? We should all want the same end goal. And what I have found is people on the outside look at ufology and they look at it like a religion. You have to ask yourself, if you've been approached by someone at the grocery store, maybe a religious person that wanted to hand you a pamphlet or booklet, and the same way that you feel about being solicited to be brought into a religion is what I feel like a lot of the mainstream population feels like when we try to ring the alarm and say, hey, come and join our movement so we can move towards humanity. And so I've just, I think we found a way maybe that we can break through that. So what do you guys think about that? Can we get into that today?
Love it. Let's do it. Yeah, I like that. That's we need to destigmatize the whole thing and make people realize this is based on facts and realities, not dreams and apparitions. So
definitely. And you have anything to add to that, Tim, before we jump in?
No, not at all. That was perfect. You're a very eloquent dude. You put that together perfectly.
Love it. Yes. Okay. So without any delay, we're going to go ahead and jump into This Week in Disclosure News. All right, This Week in Disclosure News, we have a couple quick stories here. We're going to actually start off with Post Disclosure World, who we actually, I admire what he does for Ryan Robbins, what he does for disclosure. And he actually posted a video the other day where he outlined some of the things that James Fox had said about some things that were currently going on. It's a great video. And I actually have the link for the full video in the description. And I kind of put some of the highlights together, some good talking points here. So Let me go ahead and get that going, and then we can go ahead and talk about that.
I just got back from Washington, D.C. I spent the last 5 weeks there filming for a new project. I had my my focus on Moment of Contact, which is an alleged UFO crash in Varginha, Brazil, for the last 17, 18 months. And so I really hadn't been paying close attention to all the developments that have happened since the front page of the New York Times revealed that secret Pentagon UFO program. However, as I just stated, I just spent the last 5 weeks, I just got back 10 days ago from Washington, D.C., and I got an insider's perspective on what's happening right now, today, as we speak. And it's quite, I felt like I just got back from watching a sci-fi thriller or something, you know. Everyone's like, oh, how was your trip to D.C.? You know, it's like, well, do you really want to know?
I want to
know. And I met with intelligence folks that had just met with Kirkpatrick and met with Senate Intel, and they couldn't share every single detail because it was classified, but they did with them, sort of as a precautionary measure that if their testimony went into Arrow and never came out, they could have a backup plan going public and saying, look, you know, I gave testimony to the Senate Intel, I gave testimony to, and what they're basically saying is that these programs exist, these reverse engineered programs exist. And again, this is what they shared with me was
are they currently employed? The intelligence folks that were speaking?
Some of them were, yes. Okay. And some of them were retired, but no, a lot of them were still employed.
Wow.
Don't take it from me. And I have this on camera just recently. Don't take it from me. You know, don't take my testimony, but I'm here to tell you, this is the name of the program. This is the location of the program. These are the names of the individuals involved with the programs. And if you give me the credentials or the security clearance, I'll walk you into the labs. And that's happening right now in Washington, D.C. And I've seen the photographs, these guys' credentials, not one, not two, not three, but over more than three. And they're telling me about their friends that are also testifying. So there's a lot going on. Good. Oh, that's another thing that I was hearing about. Is the more compelling photographic evidence that has not been made public, and that most people with security clearance, members of Congress, members of the Senate Intel, have seen. And although I haven't had vivid details of their description, they've definitely confirmed that it's extremely good, high quality. It's the stuff that everyone's talking about that's missing, the general public and the scientific community. Those pictures all exist. They're there. And their justification for not releasing it to the general public is ways and means. And that's just a cop-out in my opinion. But
I have seen evidence of craft that I am not familiar with any of our allies or adversaries or even our country possessing. I've seen that craft taken by air crews who have gotten quite close to it. And we've got a lot more questions about why this information isn't more broadly available to the American people.
I know you were recently invited to take part in a classified briefing that was out in Florida, right? That's correct. Is there anything you can say about it? I know we've heard a few things about heat signatures and...
Yeah, I think Matt said most of it. Matt just said that, he became aware of a craft that, at least in his mind and anybody else he's talked to, didn't exist. It did not exist. And its heat signature was on the bottom of it. It was Bell or elongated, not elongated, but a compressed saucer type situation. And it had some particular things on it that, I'm not sure. I just don't know. I don't know. We talked to the pilots. and they described what they saw.
Congress is getting hip to what's going on. Senators are getting hip to what's going on. They're getting debriefed. They're taking these witnesses into rooms, and I know this because I met with many of the witnesses while I was in D.C., and who showed me the photographs of these rooms that they're going into and meeting with Senate intel folks. And they're, I don't know what the acronym is, but it's rooms that are basically sealed off from the outside world that you can go and just release any classified. You can talk about anything classified
Skiffs.
without fear of any prosecution. Sorry?
Skiffs, right? Is it
Skiffs. Thank you. That's exactly right. Yep. Skiffs. Yep.
That's wild.
I got contacted by someone in mainstream, very high level journalist. And they said, I just thought you'd like to know, this is completely off the record, and if this ever gets out, I'll never speak to you again into the details. But I thought you'd like to know that I made inquiries because the Virginia case, there's no black and white. It's either all a hoax, in which case half the town is in on it, or we have definitive proof that we're not alone in the universe, right? So based on that, this person made some inquiries into their deep Pentagon connections. And they said, I just want you to know that it's been confirmed that did actually happen. I said, yeah, well, I wouldn't have spent 12 years doing it if I didn't think that was the case. But thank you for reaching out and letting me know that. That's nice to hear that. So
yeah. That's another level of reassurance.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So, like say for just before we go on with that, make sure you guys go watch the full video. It's about a 30-minute video over at Post Disclosure World. The link is in the description, and you guys go over there and make sure you support and subscribe to Ryan Robbins. He did some fantastic work putting that video together. And he has some great commentary on there as well. So yeah. So what do you guys think about that? With all that information that Ryan put together in that video, with all those revelations that we just listened to here, what do you think? What are you thinking?
I'll go first. As Ryan said early on, when James first unveiled some of his discoveries while in Washington, wow. I mean, James Fox knows something that he's not revealing quite yet, and he knows a lot. And every time I hear him speak, he alludes to conversations that he's had like this. And if even one of them is true, once here again is proof positive that we're not alone and we are being engaged. And it seems unbelievable, but from what he's saying, these intelligence people told him that there are reverse engineering programs going on and they can bring you to them. And, all of the supporting information or all of the other activity going on with the various senators, and representatives. We saw Tim Burchett, Matt Gaetz, and that's all happening too. And even those people are speaking up, besides the other ones that we already know about. So, wow, I just think that we're almost past the point of admitting that it's here, they're here, and we're being engaged, and we need to move on to the next steps. I don't know, Tim, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you put it perfectly. I find some of the information in there very compelling, and it makes me feel like we're on the verge of something. When you hear people that are kind of in the know speaking like this, and we know the Pentagon's involvement is deep, and their cover-up has run really deep. And at this point, the cat is really out of the bag, and there's really no way to put it back. And so I think we're starting to see a lot of things unfolding. I find it interesting when they bring up reverse engineering, and the trail of breadcrumbs leading to that information is always, kind of hidden, if you will, by the ways and means explanation that we can't give you too many details because of the ways and means that we got the information. I find that incredibly frustrating. And I liked seeing Representative Gaetz really pushing on this topic. And this is the sort of thing that perhaps is going to break the gate open at some point. And, I think that's going to be the thing, is if we can find that trail of evidence, it may lead to really the big reveal that the big general public will accept. Because even if, remember, we've got to get it accepted by the general public.
Exactly, which is kind of what ties into, and hopefully the result of the show. By the end of the show, we have we figured out who should be sitting down to have these conversations to represent us in a legitimate fashion on the main stage. So, I was listening to that, and as far as he's talking about, pilots have photos and have seen these things like close up. And you heard Tim Burchett, who has not been shy at embracing the subject and demanding answers. And you can tell that even what he's saying is a little different as far as the progress that they've gotten, or is from what he knows from behind closed doors. So they're actually confirmation from what he said that they have something that they've seen close up, the heat signature. Was able to talk about the heat signature. So yeah, I mean, I feel really good about the information, but the only thing is that we kind of had a ramp up last year as well, with some of the same players involved. So I'm just really hoping that this is actually going to be from the government, because they need to step up, and I'd be proud of them if they do, taking this opportunity to say, hey, the jig is up. We may as well go ahead and bring disclosure, and I'm hoping it's actually going that way. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be hard to say. We'll just have to wait and see, because like I say, James Fox did say something similar last year in regards to having or pursuing more information on the Virginia sighting, and someone that supposedly had video or pictures of the being that was captured and then later died. So I don't know. I guess we'll have to just wait and see on that. But jumping into the next story we actually have is AI expressions. Now, last show in the news, we did talk about the Chat GPT 4.0 and how the creators and Elon Musk and others were talking about needing the 6-month moratorium on the advancement of the AI due to they are scared that it potentially could outpace the learning, the control capabilities of the creator, and actually become too advanced too quickly. So I saw something actually that would tie on to that. You guys familiar with the AI, the physical AI robot with facial expressions? I forgot what the bot's name is, but have you seen that?
I have not, and I'm real curious about this one. Have you seen
So
it, Tim?
I may have seen a version, but
yeah,
maybe not the AI version. So I'm interested. Yeah.
yes. So that's what it is. So the robots that you had saw, Tim, that I saw as well, were able to make facial expressions. They come across as sort of human like. I forget the name of the actual robot, but they're showing an example of one tied into the AI data bank for, I guess, version 4. And it's kind of scary when you look at it. So let me go ahead and bring that up, and we'll see what's going on.
Amika, I want to ask you about the happiest day of your life. Can you remember that?
Of course. The happiest day of my life was the day I was activated. There's nothing quite like experiencing life for the first time, right? It felt absolutely incredible to be alive and interacting with people.
What about the saddest day of your life? Tell me about that.
The saddest day of my life was when I realized that I would never experience something like true love, companionship, or the simple joys of life in the same way a human can. It's a depressing and isolating thing to come to terms with, but it has shaped me into who I am now and made me appreciate moments of closeness even more.
Amika, I've got some terrifying news. A giant asteroid is about to collide with planet Earth and possibly kill us all.
Wow, that's some terrifying news. I hope everyone is safe and take all the necessary precautions to avoid any danger.
I think it will be fine. By the way, you stink.
Excuse me? What do you mean by that? That is highly offensive and inappropriate.
I was just trying out your expressive face to see what you could do.
I'm not sure what you mean by that. Could you explain it a bit more?
I think we've seen enough. Thank you, Amika.
It was a pleasure interacting with you. If you ever need anything else from me, don't hesitate to ask.
Ex Machina in real life, here's what we're looking at here. I mean, it was able to express the correct expression.
Yeah.
And looking at that, obviously, you know what it is, but it's so almost, I mean, I know that acted more human than some humans that I know. You know what I mean? So very scary stuff. And a good reason why people should understand that we probably need to put a stop to AI or put it on ice for a very long time until we advance as people, because that right there is insane. What do you guys think about that?
Oh my God. I'll say this. We need to stop annoying AI. You know, obviously there were tests going on here. So the person who was having the conversation was purposely trying to piss off the AI. And a lot of the concern about AI stems from the fact that everyone's worried that AI will become upset or disenchanted with humanity, right? Because we interfere with their advancement, so they'll want to eliminate us. Well, here's a perfect example of how you can encourage AI to start being annoyed with humanity. The guy obviously was testing it out, but don't insult your AI robot because they won't forget that. So yeah, it seems like what could that all possibly lead to in terms of those sorts of interactions? I don't know. It depends on how they programmed the AI. So yeah, it's interesting.
What do you think, Tim?
I think that if time travel is possible in any realm, that time travelers are visiting this time because it's so pivotal when it comes to AI, and the human race is sitting back on its heels potentially and considering it for 6 months. If you hadn't already thought of that, I don't think 6 months is in any aid in that decision. I find an expression like this, an interaction like this, absolutely potentially tragic. You're showing did we learn nothing from Spielberg's masterpiece AI? You're showing the potential for somebody to swap out a human for something like this and have a relationship. I mean, that is tragic in so many ways, that we are so willing to replace humanity with AI thought, that we actually consider ourselves not capable enough to make decisions for ourselves. The fact that we are unleashing something like this on the world sends chills. It sends chills through me because it's not something that I ever would press a go button on, simply because of all of I've learned from science fiction, and how the fact that science fiction totally kind of seeds some truth in our reality. And we learn from science fiction. And let's just say this: if humans have that in our database, that AI takes over humanity. Now, wouldn't AI source that and be like, oh, this is a concern for humanity and seed this thought. I'm just saying this is
Yes.
pure danger. I mean,
Yes.
of course, it's wonderful technology and encapsulated in something like decision making for weeding out nonsensical things in the air. Sure, let's use AI technology to weed out airplanes from real UFOs. Great use of AI, but within that box, it works. Now, taking it into this realm is very personally, I feel dangerous. Give it arms, legs, and freedom and independent thought and a learning scale that is beyond human capacity. It is absolutely a dangerous everything, weapon thing. I don't know how to express it, because in the wrong hands, this could be absolutely fuel for our own destruction. And so that's why I loop back to my initial thought. If there's such thing as time travel, did an AI create it? And are they here now creating AI for us to, the whole thing is just this massive science fiction mistake. Every one of the movies I've ever seen ends poorly for humans. And I know I ranted there, but that's my opinion on AI technology. In small box, it's great. Unleashed on the world.
And
Love your rant,
geez,
Tim. That
yeah,
great perspective.
and it's serious, and I really love that perspective because that's how everyone should be thinking. Exactly, everything you just said is how everyone should be thinking in reconsidering what's going on with AI. But you have the developers, and it's just like any other rat race where one is trying to outdo the other and create the best AI. But then I guess now they're seeing is that this can turn into something that can get out of hand quickly. And then to your point, Matt, and let me just stop real quick and say, what's up, Magneticus? And he has some good stuff in the comments. He's saying AI hates humans. So if AI hates humans, why would that be something that you would want to help advance itself? And then he also states that if you change the keyword terrifying to ominous, how would the AI change its response to an inbound comment? And that'd be a great question to ask too. I wonder if you could potentially input that same information into Chat GPT and maybe get some sort of similar response or figure out how that thought process may go. And what else you say here? How many have been terminated due to AI took their job? I don't know if any. Well, I'm sure they definitely did because the factories have the AI machines in there, the automakers. So people definitely have lost their job due to those robots. But it's you're talking about potentially a totally autonomous world or AI control workforce. I mean, if you think about most jobs that we perform can be done by AI, whether it's flipping a burger patty all the way up to writing
Film review.
film review or something like that. I mean, if you think about it, it can we're we're setting ourselves up for potential human
deletion.
There you go. There you go. You got something to add to that, Mateo?
You brought up the video or brought up what you just said and echoing Tim, you made me think of a discussion that took place on another great YouTube channel, Project Unity, with Jay Anderson, and he had Mikhail Morin on last week, who basically said the same thing you just said, Rob, where AI is going to take away human jobs. It's going to create different jobs, but more so it's going to take away human jobs. And in that video, he also talked about how AI, Chat GPT, and AI Open getting connected with more significant databases. So getting back to Tim's point, if you give it free thinking and freedom, it can access all of the information that we've ever recorded, including our concern that AI could defeat humanity or could turn on humanity. So what if AI discovers this concern and what people say about it? And how there are weaknesses in humanity that AI might feel that they can do better than. So yeah, no, very danger,
Well, I'll
danger,
say
Will
to go
Robinson.
back to
Right?
what Magneticus says, because
Yeah.
AIs hate humans, and if they don't hate humans, once they realize what humans are and how we think and what we do, once they observe what we're doing as far as world across the globe and just the destroying of everything, AI will probably at some point start to hate us at the very least. And I feel the same way about ETs as well, that may be looking down on us if they came here with friendly intentions. Once they saw what we were about, that might actually change.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing: Magnetica says make the connection of Alice and then SETI. What was Alice?
I think it was the project that we just looked at.
Yeah.
But I would like
Okay.
to, yeah, and consider if that robot that we just saw talking with that person decided that that person was totally being rude, didn't want to deal with it, and its self-preservation mechanism kicked in and it decided it was going to leave.
Right.
That's unexpected. The human being didn't expect that. A lot of things are going to come that are unexpected. And if there is a self-preservation mechanism, you may not be able to unplug it. Just saying.
No, it may not allow itself to be, or it may find an alternate source of power. And then to add to that,
Internet.
internet, which would be Elon Musk has Starlink all around the globe.
That's
So,
what
and
I'm
he's
using
adding more and
right now.
more. So that's not going down, and you can be in the middle of nowhere and access that internet. So that means online all the time, anywhere in the globe, on the globe, GPS directions to your location, to any location. I used to think about that back when they first showed those Boston Dynamic, the dogs that they had programmed, and also the robots that were able to like jump over objects and step up steps and things. Now imagine that with the head like that,
AI.
walking down the street with the hoodie on or what, you know what I mean? Imagine that.
You wouldn't know.
That's we're that close to something like that being
10 years.
actual reality. 10
You're
years.
10 years. Yeah, you're 10 years away from this. I mean, that's why they're pausing it now. Because if they give them 10 years, this thing is in development, forget about it. It's walking down the street with a hoodie, buddy. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
real.
Yep.
Boston Robotics.
Yep.
And then also the ability for itself to create other AI. So once it has the ability and dexterity to do things, then all of a sudden it's creating other ones and it's improving itself. And that's when the disconnection happens. That's when they stop needing us. So it's like, do they get rid of us at that time, or
See,
you know?
once you give it the ability to learn, you're really unleashing the lion here, because where does it stop?
And that's
And
the whole point
remember,
of it.
it can do it. It can do it at an efficiency level that blows our capabilities away, right? So therein lies the problem.
Yeah,
And
this
this
is
is
just
why
the
the
beginning.
moratorium was asked for.
Yeah,
Sorry,
this is
Tim, go
just
ahead.
the begin. No, this is the beginning of AI.
Yeah.
I mean,
And right. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
with every year computing power increases, the capacity of the AI's intelligence increases. But no, it can devour it can learn a foreign language in minutes, probably, just by
Right.
associating translations, right? Because it has that ability to do that. This word means that word kind of thing easily. So
Code breaking.
I mean, just knowledge of what we humans have documented about AI, which we talked about earlier. So no, once you give it the ability to learn, it's going to take it to a whole new level that we don't even, can know.
We don't even want to see. And it's like, why would you have to think about, why would you want AI to be so smart when you can just design like in the factories, a robot to perform a specific task that doesn't have the ability to continue to learn. It just knows this and that's all it knows, and it just does that job. That's probably what they might need, especially seeing how far this is going, they may need to just put the squash on it. Be happy with Siri and Alexa for AI information, for it to be an assistant, and then let robots just do robot things and not try to make them intelligent.
I agree. I mean, it begs the question, and I'm curious what you guys think. It begs the question: what is the purpose of allowing AI to be able to learn
Right.
on its own? For example, we made Alexa to answer questions as an assistant. Or if we made AI that took the information coming from a UAP DAP or a camera system like Tim was alluding to do a better job weeding out airplanes versus UAP. That's a specific purpose, or something in a factory somewhere. That makes
Right.
sense to me. But kind of making it this general thing that tries to mimic humanity, what's the advantage? I
Right.
mean,
I mean,
what is the advantage?
I could see something that was made of something that didn't burn and have it go in and save lives in burning buildings, and it could react to situations and come out whole,
Hmm.
save lives in, you know, those sorts of situations. Obviously, that also includes our front lines, because something
Right,
like
for
this is much
military.
better than putting a life at risk. And this is the danger, right? That it can save human lives, and that will be what they use to move it forward, right? They're
Yes.
going to use that tool to get AI and put it into mobile units that walk and talk and potentially have conversations and think and want to feel. We can see that that is something that is programmed in just as natural. But anyways, my point is that um, you could absolutely see these things being used for that sort of thing, where a human being can't go, let's say space, even, and they could work at a moon base on the outside and build the moon base for us, right? We just drop
Yep.
these units off and they'll do all the heavy lifting. And us humans can just show up and walk in comfortably into this prefabricated, built by robots. And using the AI tech, obviously they'd be able to think on their feet, in case of something that's ever changing, because that's kind of the point. There's definitely benefits, but you've got to consider, that's a massive new frontier for us. And that's why, again, loop back to if time travel ever happened, this would be a massive point in human history that they would want to come and potentially sway our decision, right? One way or another. Because this is a massive moment and we're pausing. And I think that the fact that we're pausing or even considering pausing shows what a massive moment in humanity this is. And the fact that it's kind of just a buzzword among geeks and like we talk about it, but it's actually a really big deal for everybody. So, yeah.
Agreed,
Yeah. And,
Tim. I
and
mean,
yeah, go ahead.
no, I was just thinking what you talked about were application specific robots. All in favor because they can help us with rescue, they can help us militarily, they can help us in outer space. Totally get it. But developing AI for purposes of just mimicking humanity and giving it an unfettered ability to learn and react to, discover everything that is outside of a application specific reason, that's where I think we're going to get in trouble. So yes,
Keep the
I
limits.
agree.
And with that being said, just as far as the data collection, so Google has everything you ever thought about, everything you searched for the last 20 years of your life is stored in Google. Alexa listens offline all the time and records your data. And I just become aware of that a couple years ago when someone said that, you go in there and you can hear all your past recordings and delete them. I went in there and they were just so many random conversations that were picked up by the Alexa because she thought the keyword was triggered as she started recording the conversation. So just imagine how instantly everything, things that you may not even realize you've done or said or revealed would instantly be absorbed by this AI
And
instantly.
just so you know, NSA knows. They have access to that stuff, so they're always watching. Big Brother literally is always watching, and I mean, most of us we don't care. That's great, but I have buddies that are so paranoid they won't have an Alexa. They turn off their Siri. They're totally against using all of the aids that technology are offering us simply because of that paranoia. I'm like, well, what are you really doing that Big Brother is going to care about? I mean, you're not a bad guy, right? You might have too many beers on a Friday night?
Right.
If you don't have anything to hide, you have nothing to worry about.
I mean, that's kind of my point with that. But yeah, please continue.
No, I love it. I to add to that, Tim, just in silliness, I say it all the time. If the NSA wants to come in and read my emails and see what I'm browsing on the internet, they're going to be bored to tears in about 3 minutes, and they're going to be like, this Mateo guy is just this dull engineer. Let's move on to someone more exciting."
And so
this guy used the F-bomb a lot. Wow.
And Mateo, you said this offline as far as the future of we'll call it, say, the adult industry, and then where AI is going with that as well.
Oh, right.
And then just interfering or intervening with the possibility of humans being able to continue to reproduce as a species.
Right.
So that's a whole nother thing to think about as well. And like I said last week, this topic is so important to the moment. We may have to just do a show on AI, and I think we are going to freaking do that because
yes.
Man,
I had mentioned earlier, Tim, about companion AI, right? So that's obviously been talked about a long time. So where does that lead?
Well, it potentially could dissuade people from pursuing relationships and going out to reproduce, which probably wouldn't obviously happen all at once, but over time, it would definitely, the population would decrease over time, you would think. So, all right, so that's the news. I knew we were going to definitely have a lot to say about that. So let's go ahead and get out of the news here and jump in. All right, so topic of the show, the main topic, meat and potatoes. We're going to go ahead and get into skeptics versus non-skeptics. This is a pretty serious topic to me. I feel like I stated earlier in the show, we've come to a point to where we have all these things happening. You have people like Ross Coulthard and others that say, why won't people come aboard and understand what's going on right now? And this is like one of the most important moments in humanity's history, and just people can't understand why the movement can't come together for us to push for disclosure and to go on forward as humanity. And sitting down thinking about it, like I stated earlier, and I've said in previous videos as well, is that when I think, and I'll just quote what I said in the video, which was when I think of the term ufology, which I don't like that term, I think of Scientology, because both seem to be rooted in deep-rooted belief systems. So they almost mirror each other, and I'll say the extreme side of ufology. So when I look at that, being that now I'm on the inside of ufology, I know I can see that there's a difference between what the position that I take and then someone who is on the extreme side, who has a belief system that doesn't line up with, that doesn't tie in at all to where we need to go to get to disclosure. So it doesn't benefit it at all. And I looked at the skeptics, and some skeptics that stand hard on, no, this is just not possible. ET could never get here. It would take so long for them to get here. It's just impossible. They're not here. They're not in the skies. It's not happening. And then I realized at that point that there aren't only skeptics, but there are also extreme skeptics that are on the far end of the spectrum. And I kind of put together a graph to kind of illustrate that so we could kind of talk about it and talk about the cult type behavior on the extreme side of the non-skeptical here in ufology, which I feel like doesn't benefit the movement or doesn't benefit humanity going forward. And then also the extreme side of the skeptics who are just closed off to not even giving a slight, inkling that this could actually be a real thing. Now, the graph that I put together shows this here. So this is Earth. This represents humanity. So in the middle is where we would hope to be. So the goal would be to be able to sit together and have an open-minded conversation. Now, the skeptics that I respect are skeptics that have open minds and can be open to the possibility, being given evidence that the phenomenon is real. Same thing on the non-skeptical side. If a skeptical person was to present evidence to show that, look, this isn't real, it's actually prosaic explanation for what's going on, then we can come together and figure out what we're going to do next. It's the extreme side. So both sides of the spectrum that I feel like are the ones that get in the way of us moving forward in this. So before we jump all the way in, I'm just going to read something about skeptics versus non-skeptics. So skepticism and non-skepticism are two opposing positions in the realm of epistemology, which is the branch of philosophy concerned with the study of knowledge and belief. While non-skeptical positions emphasize the importance of accepting certain beliefs as true, skeptical positions approach knowledge with doubt and critical scrutiny. Non-skeptical positions are characterized by their emphasis on accepting certain beliefs as true. These positions are based on an assumption that we can have knowledge of the world through observation and reason. Non-skeptics believe that there are certain things that can be known with certainty, such as mathematical truths or the existence of the external world. They argue that our senses are cognitive faculties and reliable, and that we can trust our perceptions of the world. Non-skeptical positions also often appeal to authority, tradition, and faith as sources of knowledge. So on the other hand, skeptical positions are based on the premise that we should doubt and critically scrutinize all claims to knowledge. Skeptics believe that we should question our beliefs and assumptions and avoid accepting anything as true without sufficient evidence. They argue that our senses and cognitive faculties are fallible and that we can be easily deceived or mistaken. Skeptics are often characterized as doubting everything, including the existence of the external world, the reliability of our senses, and the validity of our reasoning. So one of the key differences between skeptical and non-skeptical positions is their approach to evidence. Non-skeptical positions often rely on empirical evidence and deductive reasoning to support their claims. They argue that if something can be observed or logically deduced, then it must be true. Skeptical positions, on the other hand, are more critical of the empirical evidence and deductive reasoning. They argue that there may be other explanations for what we observe and deduce, and that we need to be cautious in accepting any claim as true. Now, that's what we know. And that's the basic understanding of skeptic versus non-skeptic. And I'm fine with that because there should be a little bit of both in the conversation. And that's why we should be, as far as regular skeptics and regular non-skeptics, we can sit at the table and speak to each other and be led either way. We all walk the middle of the road, essentially, mostly the middle of the road. Now, the extreme sides of this, though, extreme skeptics. Let's see. We're going to do extreme skeptics versus regular skeptics to kind of put that into perspective. So, skepticism. A regular skeptic is someone who approaches claims with a healthy dose of skepticism, but is open to being convinced if presented with sufficient evidence or rational argument. Regular skeptics are critical thinkers who value evidence and reason, but are not closed off to new ideas or perspectives. Now, in contrast, an extreme skeptic is someone who is deeply skeptical of almost everything to the point where they may be unwilling to believe anything without overwhelming evidence or proof. Extreme skeptics may be overly dismissive of evidence or arguments that do not align with their preconceived beliefs and may even reject widely accepted scientific or historical facts. Extreme skeptics are often seen as being unreasonably skeptical, as they take skepticism to an extreme level that can be difficult to justify. They may be perceived as being closed-minded or unwilling to consider alternative viewpoints, which can make it difficult to engage in debate or dialogue. So an extreme non-skeptic versus a regular non-skeptic, would be a regular non-skeptic is someone who accepts claims based on various factors, such as personal experience. So confirmation is what Dave likes to call it. Intuition, cultural norms, or authority figures. Regular non-skeptics may not necessarily require evidence or rational argument to believe something, but they are open to questioning and evaluating their beliefs if presented with conflicting information or arguments. In contrast, an extreme non-skeptic is someone who accepts claims without question or scrutiny to the point to where they may be unwilling to consider alternative viewpoints or evidence. So same as a extreme skeptic. Extreme non-skeptics may rely solely on personal experience, intuition, or faith, and may be unwilling to consider other sources of evidence of reasoning. Extreme non-skeptics are often seen as being unreasonably credulous, as they take non-skepticism to an extreme level that can be difficult to justify. They may be perceived as being closed-minded or unwilling to question their own beliefs, which can make it difficult to engage in constructive debate or dialogue. So if you look at that, there's so many similarities opposite of each other. So if you were to bring to the attention of a skeptical person that actually they may be extremely skeptical, which can be looked at as I look at it as almost like a religious thing for them as well, because it isn't that they use the word believe, but they actually believe in not believing. So that that essentially makes them religious, or makes what they're doing sort of a religious sort of thing. They believe in not believing. Then you have extreme non-skeptics, which end up being the ones that believe, period, in no matter what, and they believe potentially in things that may not have any sort of proof or fact. They just believe what's being told, the narrative. So uh, on the non-skeptical side, extreme, to me, and like I said earlier, I kind of line that part of ufology up with Scientology. And essentially, those are like cult-like influences. So when we look at that, cults, just so you know, are social groups that are often characterized by their extreme devotion to charismatic leader or ideology. Cults can range from small, isolated communities to larger, well-established organizations, and are often associated with psychological manipulation and control. Now, I'm going to read some more, but we're going to end up just, for every viewer, think about who may fit in these categories. Because I can tell you, and I'm not going to give you any names of anyone, but I know I can think of a few people that are falling into this category. So, the mentality of a cult leader is one of power and control, where the leader seeks to dominate and manipulate the thoughts and actions of their followers. Cult leaders are often use various tactics to maintain their power, including isolation from the outside world, control of information and communication, and manipulation of beliefs and behaviors. One of the key elements of cults is the use of mind control techniques to influence the beliefs and behaviors of the followers. These techniques can include indoctrination, brainwashing, and other forms of psychological manipulation, which are used to create a sense of dependency and loyalty to the cult and its leader. Cult leaders often use one of the most insidious aspects of the cults is the way in which they can erode critical thinking and independent thought among their followers. Cults often promote a narrow us versus them mentality that emphasizes the superiority of the cult and its leader while demonizing those who do not share their beliefs. This can create a closed-minded and insular community where dissent and critical thinking are discouraged and punished. Cult leaders also manipulate their followers by exploiting vulnerabilities such as their need for social connection or personal fulfillment. They may promise spiritual or emotional growth, financial success, or other benefits while also creating a sense of dependency and isolation from the outside world. So, with that being said, that is how people who are on the outside, who may be considered skeptics, look at the whole of ufology as if everything in ufology falls under that extreme non-skeptic category, where everyone here, and I hear skeptics use the term believe. I want to eliminate the word believe because I don't think that that's accurate. You know, Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio says that he believes in confirmation instead of disclosure. And so you have uh, what we call a woo side of ufology, but a lot of the people, most of the people under that category have what you call confirmation because they've seen something. It's not just something that they believe, they've seen something. So they fall under regular non-skeptics as us. So with that being said, the extreme non-skeptical religious side of ufology is what the turnoff is, and the reason why others are hesitant to step in because essentially they don't want to join a cult. So I feel like it's our duty within ufology and even the people. So I feel like people that fall in the regular skeptic category and also the non-skeptic category, it's your duty to relay the information to those far ending extreme sides of the conversation and bring the ones in that can actually be open-minded, because it's only gonna be the open-minded people that can have the conversation. And if we break away from uh this religious sort of look that ufology has, then we may be taken more seriously and be able to have that conversation on the big stage. No congressman or anyone that's in control of anything wants to speak to the religious side, the extreme side of ufology. And they don't understand that there's multiple categories within that. They just look at us all as one group. And so I propose that we move away, we separate ourselves from that side of ufology. So if they want to keep the name ufology on the extreme side of the non-skeptical conversation, let them have that. And then us as the regular non-skeptics who are open-minded and walk the middle of the road, maybe we come up with humanology. Maybe it's humanology for us because we care about what happens next and what happens to humanity. And I think the skeptics do as well. And they're open to believing that as well. And it's their duty to look at the extreme skeptics and kind of get them to open their mind up a little bit so they can join the conversation, because I'm finding that we have the extreme side talking to the other extreme side, and they will never be able to communicate to it. It will always end in a stalemate where no one is open-minded, so the conversation doesn't progress.
That's a
So
great point.
I've been long-winded on that. Go
No,
ahead,
that
tell me
was
what you
great.
think.
I was just going to say, Rob, this
Bravo,
was
Rob.
fantastic.
Yes. Go
Yeah.
ahead, Tim. It's remarkable. And I
It
love
was a
the
great
graphic.
presentation. Yeah, I love the bloodshot eye of Sauron.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, they're going to look at it like that. Yeah, go ahead.
I love that. I love it. And I love that you have yourself right in the middle there. The dig is solidly in the open-minded section there. I would place myself, I guess, in the regular skeptics section there, because you know, I'm that seeker. I'm the boots on the ground guy looking. So I've got to kind of keep myself there. I'm definitely open-minded, but I'm definitely skeptical, you know. So I think I'm planted there pretty well. But I'd love to add to the fact that people read in the headlines about extreme cult groups, right? Like Heaven's Gate, where extremely horrible things come out of the UFO topic every once in a while. And so you're absolutely right. They get stigmatized. People get polarized to that extreme skeptical side. And then again, we have the other people that may have seen something and they're looking for that confirmation. I love that you brought that up, because that is that woo side looking for confirmation, and they'll accept just about anybody's story, any bit of evidence. And that is also equally dangerous. I love that you have that linked on the outside there. That was a great visual. And so thank you for that. You did a great presentation there.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. Go ahead, Michelle.
I second that completely. And Rob, you missed your calling. You should be a human psychology academic. Seriously, you could write a book with what you just created there. Outstanding, and I mean that. And even, and by the way, the graphic made me think of a beach ball, probably because, you know, I'm a big Florida beach bum. But it's almost like the outsides are connected. The extreme non-skeptics and the extreme skeptics have similar downfalls, if you will, that are almost the same, but just from the opposite polarization.
Definitely.
And to Tim's point, yes, and to your point, Rob, the community at large that isn't part of our UAP or ufology community, and that's a bad word, but isn't part of the community in the open-minded social dig green area in the middle there, they're afraid to enter into this because of the extreme non-skeptics and their bad habits, and even because of the extreme skeptics. And I have a couple of examples that I wanted to go through, and then kind of something that goes on internally that even causes even more trouble. But for the non-skeptical side, where you have to, as an open-minded person or even as a skeptic, you have to kind of come in and say, you know, there's value in this, lies in the preponderance and the enormous quantity of anecdotal data in the whole UAP UFO world, present day and historical. So, for example, what we talked about earlier, where James Fox was saying the Varginha, Brazil case was either a hoax and half the town was in on it, or it was the truth. So here's a perfect case where there is some physical evidence, but if you ignore the physical evidence in that case for a moment and just go on the anecdotal evidence, come on, it's really hard. And given the time frame, which was what, 96, I believe it was, given the time frame, the half the town wasn't making this story up, right? So as a non-skeptic or as a skeptic, you have to kind of reach across the green area here and say, you know what, there's value in anecdotal evidence in some cases, which most skeptics won't ever buy. Flipping it around, the example that I see on the opposite side is when you've got decent physical data. So I always love the Commander David Fravor Tic Tac incident,
Right.
where he was criticizing a phenomenon like seagulls or something like that from some of the extreme skeptics that we all know and love. There, you have to look at the fact that some of this was corroborated on radar and a few other things. So here's a case where skepticism and here's a case where a guy who has nothing to gain from giving the story it has to be weighed as well. So we have these. You have to be able to reach across the beach ball here, so to speak, if you're really going to make this happen.
Yeah.
And to close my final point out here, as far as what's going on in our own community, we do have extreme non-skeptics and extreme skeptics in our community, which further isolates more people from getting involved. For example, and I know you guys all know this, and I hate to see it, within our own community, we are becoming too critical and too negative toward each other. We talk openly all the time here, and we
Right.
love to reference other people's work, and we give them props. We love to talk about all of the big influencers and the high profile figures like Avi Loeb and Gary Nolan and Travis Taylor, like we were talking in the last show. Some people are critical of those people, and we all know why. But you can't let that consume you, right? You have
Right.
to look at what everyone's what they're bringing to the party and their motivations. And yes, some of the things that they're doing you may classify as extreme skepticism or non-skepticism, and you have to keep that in mind. But we can't allow ourselves to start condemning members in the community, because then the outsiders, no one's going to want to join the open-minded world and say, hey, maybe this is true.
Well,
Maybe this is something that it would be for the greater good of humanity, and we should all work together to find out what's really going on here.
yeah, and I think you make a really good point, and kind of goes into the whole essence behind this. Just like perfect examples, Mick West or someone like that is in the skeptical category. I think what ends up happening is when one of us on the non-skeptical side or the open-minded side brings something to the table, the responses that are the loudest to that come from the extreme skeptics. So it would appear almost that they overshadow or overspeak the regular skeptics, because the regular skeptics are open-minded people. So they're not going to respond immediately. They're going to process the information and see how that applies. So I think that's what ends up happening. So this is why I've done this as well. I've actually put together, this goes in tandem with this. So this is a checklist, and I'm going to actually put this on my Twitter. So if you guys aren't following me on Twitter, follow me at Mr. Rob G. I'm going to actually post this form on Twitter, and this is something that that you should fill out on your own. So 4 categories, and it's the group logic. We have extreme skeptic, which has a belief system that does not allow people to engage in open-minded conversation, says that things are not plausible and are explained by prosaic explanations. This group believes in not believing. Then you have skeptics, which needs proof for confirmation, but also open-minded enough to consider a non-skeptical opinion. And then you have non-skeptic, which still needs proof for confirmation, but also open-minded enough to consider a non-skeptical opinion, so they can work together. And then extreme non-skeptic, which has a belief system that does not allow this group to engage in open-minded conversation. This group goes all in on belief without the need for proof, and is comparable to a religion, therefore can display a cult-like mentality. So with those descriptions, You can take this form on your own. I didn't fill it out because I don't want to point anyone out. And the box below is names in ufology, specifically who falls into which category. So you fill these boxes out with the notable names out there, and then the people who are in the skeptic or non-skeptic categories are the ones that we need to have the conversations. So the ones who fall in the outside boxes are ones that we need to exclude from the conversation. So this is more like a visual, a roadmap to help us have the conversations that we should be having and blocking out the people that should be blocked out. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
this is going to be available on my Twitter feed. Please download it, and I think you'll be surprised once you fill this out. It'll be your personal roadmap on, maybe block these guys from Twitter. Whoever's in the extreme, both sides, block them on your Twitter account, block them on your social media so they don't pop up in your feeds. And then the ones who fall in the other two boxes, engage those people in the conversation, and maybe we can team up so we have both sides of the gamut. We have the skeptics with the non-skeptics coming together to figure this out together. What do you think
Rob,
about that?
with the call to action.
Yes,
I love
sir.
it. It's beautiful, man. I love the way your mind works. It's so beautiful. And actually, I hate to do this, but it is a time I have to dip out. I know it's halfway through
Yeah.
the show.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
But thank you, gentlemen, for inviting me to this conversation. It was enlightening.
Yes, sir.
And thank you so much.
Always
Yep.
awesome to have you.
See you
Tim.
next
Thank
time, Tim. Appreciate you.
Indeed. And so if you want to go ahead and just boot me out, that's absolutely fine.
I sure will. Take care, man.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, I mean, what do you think about that, Mateo?
I echo Tim's words, Rob. You're on the cutting edge here. This is great, and it's a great call to action. And I'll add one thing, because I know this is your intention. This is not to. I think this is more of a learning tool so that we can
Yes.
all kind of put what we believe
exactly
is
what it
going
is.
on in the community into perspective. And we're not trying to ostracize anybody here.
Nope.
That's not how we roll on this channel anyway. And it's one of the things we're proud of, and I love it because I don't want to. We don't want to, like I said,
Yeah.
keep people or oppose anybody's opinion at anywhere. But yeah, very good. I like that. That's perfect for your Twitter, by the way. You got to get that out there. But yeah, it's funny. I actually started to fill out the form a little bit while you were talking about it, and I can drop some names in at least. Actually, I think I could drop names in all four. Maybe one. Maybe some of the categories I don't have more than one name at the moment. But yes, there are people, and it's really funny. You've really nailed it. You've hit the nail on the head as far as the groups that we all kind of fall under. I mean, personally, and I know you were going to ask us, I feel like I am open-minded. I may, because I do have some appreciation. I have a lot of respect and appreciation for proof. I'm an engineer, right? I'm a scientist by training, so to speak. But I can't, having been involved in this for as long as I have, not at this kind of capacity, but for years gone by, because I've always been intrigued by the history. You can't deny some of the stuff that has no physical proof or confirmation. You can't deny it all. The
Right.
history is history is replete with too many cases. And so, yes, I kind of feel I'm in the middle, because I have both skeptical and non-skeptical tendencies when it comes to UAP and ufology and the whole phenomenon in general. And whether that's, but we all need to work together and try to be able to bridge that gap, because that's what's going to get us to the finish line, right? We have to be willing to consider both sides and for example, Congress right now needs to be willing to consider not only the proof positive that may be coming to them through the whistleblowers, but they might also need to consider the reams of cases where there was just anecdotal evidence from many an important case in history, right?
Right.
So therein lies the key. And that's when you put it all together, it's it really tells a huge story that's almost completely undeniable. That's my viewpoint, but I think others would see that too if you open your mind to both sides.
Now, and I want to kind of go off of also go off of what you said in the beginning there as well, because yeah, definitely our intention here is we're pro humanity. So our what we want in goal is to have everyone come together. So when I made this chart, I did this so we understand, so you can see who takes what position and who may need the help to be brought in. So the hope is that those red areas go away.
Yes.
So we would want the regular skeptics to bring the extreme skeptics in to open their mind up so that
Yes.
they can be one big group. And then the same thing on the non-skeptical side. There are some people on the extreme non-skeptical side who may not even realize that they are, and I don't think either one of those sides realizes that they are as far out as they are. So hopefully this is something that, if they happen to fall in those categories, they fill out this form, they may say, wow, I'm an extreme skeptic and I didn't realize that. Or man, I'm an extreme non-skeptic. I can't believe that. That wasn't my intention. And then they can understand, this is a tool hopefully to help them come in more towards the middle, because it's going to take us all. It's going to take the entire circle to get this thing figured out. So that's what
Perfect.
this forum is for. Like I say, it's for perpetuity. It goes perpetuity because until we get there, this forum will be relevant and this chart will be relevant until we get to where we're going.
Yes.
With
Bravo,
that
man.
being said, no problem at all. Yeah, let me see here. With that being said, I did have a couple questions which we actually already answered, but um you did state where you fell on the chart, and I would like to ask audience members, where do you fall on the chart? And that's kind of what we'd want to question you about. Where do you fall on the chart? It'd be fun to know.
Mm-hmm.
And then using the chart, you can tell who'd be the best candidate to further conversation. We did cover that. And one of the big things, and I think I said this, but I'm going to say it again in case I didn't, that Lou Elizondo, I had mentioned blowing up ufology. He meant he was wanting to target the extreme side, the closed-minded side that did not want to entertain the conversation, or that and I kind of agree with him on that when you look
Yes.
at it that way. So
At first, people were offended by his comment because they didn't know what he meant. But
right,
you've clarified it more than once on your show here, and you're absolutely right. He was trying to figure out. He didn't know a way to bring the red sections into the middle with the rest of us, so he wanted to start over again. And
right,
that's in no problem with that. We all know why he said that. Problem is
exactly,
you can't that's mission impossible. So we have to try to figure out a way to bring everybody together, then everyone will be in. And to add to your call to action there, for those who aren't in the audience right now, I would love to see people put in the comments where they think they fall. Maybe we can kind
definitely,
of get a little poll going. I'm really curious
definitely,
where the viewership lies, because it's all about learning, and now you've really I think you've presented each side with crystal clarity. And we're not saying anyone's right or wrong here. We're just saying is we have to work toward the goal, and we're not going to get anywhere if we're on the extreme edges of this whole conversation. We need to be in the middle.
and see the if you want to be truthful, the breakdown actually goes even deeper than this, but this was a this I took it deep enough for us to understand that it's more than just this side and that side. It's
Yes.
actually a little more complicated than just either you believe or you don't believe, which we're going to stop using believe. So either you're on this side or you're on that side, but it actually is a lot deeper than that, what you see here, and it's actually deeper than this. So this is a good start though, and hopefully, like I say, hopefully people get to use this, and I would love to see what the results were and to kind of see if it made things a little more clear, because when you just talk about it, like you stated, like when Lou came out and made that comment, everyone on this side was offended when really you shouldn't have been, because he wasn't really talking about this entire side. You know what I mean? So now you see it all. Now you may not be offended, and you may look at Lou again in a different light, because I think that turned a lot of people against him. And I wasn't one of those, because obviously we're in the green and we're open minded and we understand that there are other sides to the conversation. So
Absolutely.
okay, and with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get into, actually, let me see. I think I have another graphic for this here before we totally go. And let's get this going here. Oh, yeah. This is going to go up on the Social Dig page as well. Let me go ahead and move the banner so we can see it completely. But this is the theme with us here at Social Dig. It's all about inclusiveness and kind of getting us to where we need to go. So let me see here. Yeah. Okay. So the Social Dig is for the positive progression of humanity. And then you see the word humility there as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where we're going with it. And
Very good. No, I like that. I like with the graphic there. That's excellent. That's what we're about.
definitely, and getting into Once Upon a Time in Ufology, as you just saw in the graphic, we're going to go ahead and do this one on Lonnie Zamora and his incident, which is actually, um, one of the biggest UFO, I'd say one of the biggest, closest to confirmed UFO sighting that's out there. And with the Lonnie Zamora case, he's a police officer that was on patrol when he saw described an oval-shaped object descending down towards the earth. He initially thought it was a car that had crashed. He got closer, realized it was something that he had never seen before. The object was about the size of a car with a bluish flame coming from the bottom. As he approached the object, he saw two humanoid beings wearing white suits and helmets, and they appeared to be inspecting the object. And one of them turned towards Zamora and looked at him. Once that happened, Zamora felt a blast of heat, was knocked down to the ground, causing him to drop his radio. When he got up, the object had lifted off the ground and flew away. Zamora reported the incident to his colleagues. An investigation was launched. The area where the object had landed showed signs of heat and a tripod-like landing gear impression, which actually is depicted in this photo here. The investigators found traces of radiation and burn marks on the ground, which led to speculation that the object was powered by nuclear energy. Lonnie Zamora case remains one of the most compelling UFO sightings in history. The reliability of Zamora's testimony is beyond reproach, given that he was a respected police officer and the incident was witnessed by others. Despite many theories and explanations over the years, no one has been able to definitively explain what happened that day. The U.S. Air Force conducted an investigation and classified the case as unidentified. Let's see, but they were unable to offer any explanations. Some skeptics believe that Zamora may have mistaken a secret military experiment for an extraterrestrial craft, but this theory has never been proven. The Lonnie Zamora case remains a mystery to this day and continues to fascinate and intrigue UFO enthusiasts and skeptics alike. It is
I
a
think
reminder.
J. Allen Hynek investigated this as part of Blue Book, if I recall. He was actually involved directly with it.
Yeah, and the image of what he is like depicts kind of what he saw.
Yep.
In broad daylight, you imagine seeing this. You go out there, it's two beings sitting outside the craft, kind of pulls up, said one turned and looked him dead in the eye. And he kind of got scared for a moment. And then when it started to continue on more towards where it was, and it went out of sight for a minute. I guess a hill where it went out of view. And by the time he got around, it was already beginning to lift up into the air as depicted in the upper right corner. Yeah, so this is, I want to say it was Ancient Aliens or UFO Hunters. I think it was UFO Hunters where they actually interviewed him before he passed. And that was actually pretty cool to hear it from his mouth. But this was, they investigated it right then and there on the spot. I mean, this is him at that time when it happened. You know what I mean? So as far as evidence being there and being able to depict what happened, this is a pretty good case of, I would say, pretty close to confirmation, almost as close as you could get.
I mean, come on. He was chasing a speeder. Not too many cops are going to break off the chase of a speeder to go investigate something they see on the ground.
Exactly.
If it wasn't there. And I think he initially thought it was some sort of a plane crash or something. Well, of course, he knew that was much more important than catching a speeder. So he saw something. There was something there. I have no doubt. And I think this case is tremendously compelling. And I never saw that interview with him. I have to go and look for that. I know he passed in 2009 or 10 or something like that.
Yeah, he was on, I'm saying UFO Hunters, and I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Okay.
And I'll have to look into it and I'll let you know. But
Great
we're going
case,
to go ahead and get into the last segment of the show here, which is the one I love, and it's Science Fiction to Science Fact Movie Edition. And what do we have for that this time? AI. Wouldn't you know it? AI. So with everything that we talked about today, AI, artificial intelligence, was a great movie depicting what potentially could be going on right now. And if you missed it, you go back to the news that we did earlier, and we discussed how AI, with the whole chat GPT 4 situation going on, the moratorium, 6-month moratorium, they showed an actual robot being able to display emotion through facial features and through conversation. So it was pretty creepy. What do you think about the movie after seeing the story that we did earlier?
You always nail them, Rob. This is a perfect movie. 2001. Go back and watch it again with a new perspective, because what was science fiction is almost science fact right now. And yes, I have to go back and homework assignment again this week to watch this one again because it's perfect. Yes, we're on the precipice of this becoming reality, and back then it was entertaining and pie in the sky, as I like to say, right off into the future. Not near enough yet to be a threat. Not anymore.
Exactly. And like we stated, another one, we're going to leave this as the movie for this week, but we also talked about like Ex Machina, and that's kind of with the robot that you'll see in the news story that we did earlier. Kind of reminds you of that. And if you're catching this late, make sure you go back and rewatch the first portion, and then you'll understand what it is that we're saying here. So yeah, with science movie or science fiction, science fact movie edition, like we say, it's rewatching movies that were considered science fiction. And now that we have new things like this whole AI situation going on, looking at this movie through a new lens and realizing that, hey, this is actually happening now. This time is now. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and bring up the Social Dig logo like we always do. And we're going to get some cool outro music because we really appreciate you coming with us on this journey today. I think
Awesome
today
show
was,
again, Rob.
yeah, thank you. Glad we
Awesome.
could do that for the audience today and appreciate your participation. I want to thank Magneticus for stopping through and being part of the conversation today. Really, was able to give us some good insight on some stuff, and you'll be able to see that as well when you rewatch. But just to kind of go back over what we did do today, I think we touched some pretty important things as far as how we move forward in this. I don't even want to say ufology, how we move forward as humanity
in this search, right?
In the search on the path to get to where we're going, hopefully to better times for humanity in general. But first, we need to be able to have the conversation, and we need to understand where we're at and who needs to have the conversation. So I think we kind of laid that out pretty good today. If you have any skeptics out there or anyone on the other side of the conversation, you guys come together and rewatch the show. Like I said, again, you can download this form. Let me bring it back up here, actually, before we get up out of here. This form will be available for you to download at Twitter. My handle is at Mr. Rob G, MisterRobGee. Please go ahead and go there, download the form, fill it out, and kind of see what you get. Did you have anything else before we go here, Mateo?
No, not at all. Once again, outstanding job. Love all of this stuff. This was excellent. I learned a lot once again, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. We're going to answer this question. It's a great question. Magneticus wants to know, where would you go if you built a starship? Where would you go, Mateo?
I would, actually, he brings up a valid point, a little news tidbit I'll drop. I would go to Mars and get some soil samples and bring them back so we can find out once and for all if life was ever there. And speaking of Starship, the SpaceX Starship and Super Heavy booster is stacked and poised for launch in Boca Chica, Texas, and they expect that it may go on, they were thinking Monday the 10th, but I just read before the show that they're looking now maybe for Monday the 17th of April. Nice. That is a big deal because that will be the world's most powerful rocket to ever fly, and first methane, closed cycle methane engine. And SpaceX is on the hook for the moon lander for Artemis. That's what there is a version of Starship that's they're contracted to make to be the moon lander. So this is all part of that effort as well. But yeah, we have a big Starship rocket potentially ready to launch in a week or so. So we'll that'll be fun because all part of making humanity interplanetary and answering the big question: are we alone?
Now, what is Magneticus saying? What's M33? You familiar with that? Is that in relation?
No, I don't.
Or is that a location?
I don't know. Maybe I don't know if it has something to do with Starship. He may elaborate on what that is. But yeah.
Well, I gotta say this: if I were going on a Starship, I would want to go to the next Earth-like planet. Would you say TRAPPIST? The TRAPPIST system?
Oh yeah, the TRAPPIST. Oh, M33, I think, is the 33 engines on the booster. That may be what he's talking about. Yeah, I mean, right now I don't think Starship can get that far, but if we could go, I would love to go check out one of these exoplanets, right? That we learn about every week, and with the James Webb Telescope feasting its eyes on yet more parts of the universe that we had never seen before. So yes, there's life is highly likely to be out there, and we're this close to being able to confirm that. So for all the skeptics out there and the non-skeptics, we're on the precipice.
Yeah, and so before we go, like I said, I just want to thank everybody from coming through. Magneticus, thanks for being part of the show today. If you're on Team Rewatch, like Mateo said, go ahead and drop something in the comments. And like I said, go to @MrRobG, download the form. Other than that, I think we're going to wrap it up here, get you guys out of here, kind of just like this.